So what is Einstein's photoelectric equation? So this real nature, one of the important equation, the energy supplied in the form of photon is used, so we can put it that way, is utilized, a part of energy is used to remove an electron as in the form of work function, say W0. Then rest of the energy, K maximum, the maximum kinetic energy of photoelectron, emitted electron, or K maximum is given by h nu minus work function. Here h is the Planck's constant, nu is the frequency of incident radiation, W0 is work function. K maximum you can put it this way, of m v x square, V maximum is equal to h nu. If you want work function, you can write in terms of threshold frequency. So here m is the mass of photoelectron, v is the maximum possible velocity of photoelectron, h is Planck's constant, frequency of incident radiation, nu 0 is threshold frequency. So this is Einstein's photoelectric equation. The energy supplied in the form of photon is utilized for two purposes: remove an electron, to detach an electron from metal surface, and the rest of the energy is observed as kinetic energy of ejected electrons. So K maximum is h nu minus W0, or K maximum kinetic energy of emitted electron or photoelectron can be written like this: h nu minus h nu 0. So here nu represents the frequency of incident radiation, right? So now this is threshold frequency. So h, of course, Planck's constant. Right? M is mass, V, of course, velocity of ejected electron. Right? Then write down de Broglie's relation and explain the terms. So de Broglie says this matter waves, all moving particles are associated with waves, and then the wavelength of such waves are called de Broglie waves, or they are also called matter waves. The wavelength of such waves, matter waves, is given by, according to de Broglie, h by p. P represents momentum, or this is same as h by mv. The h is Planck's constant, m, of course, mass of moving particle, p is its velocity. V is the velocity of moving particle. This is de Broglie wavelength. Lambda is given by h by p. P is the momentum. Here, so p represents momentum. Of course, v is the velocity, m is the mass, and then lambda is a de Broglie wavelength. De Broglie wavelength, or wavelength of matter wave. Of course, m is the mass, v is the velocity. These are familiar terms. So based on this, you can expect numerical problems as well. State Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. According to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, so it is impossible, that is not possible, to determine both position and then momentum of an electron accurately, right? This is not possible to measure both momentum and position and momentum, or vice versa, momentum and position accurately at a time. This is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, right? So what is the importance of Millikan's experiment, right? So Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, it is not possible or impossible to determine both position and momentum of an electron accurately, right? Simultaneously means at a time. Next, what is the importance of Millikan's experiment? Millikan performed Millikan oil drop experiment. So earlier we used to discuss. So now, it is elation. So according to this experiment here, what happens here? Quantization of the charge. It establishes the fact that the charge is quantized. The charge on any body exists as integral multiple of the charge of an electron. quantization of the charge. Importance of Millikan oil drop Millikan experiment is quantization of charge. Quantization of charge. And also it accurately measures this, confirms the value of Planck's constant. Planck's constant, or the minimum charge that exists is nothing but the charge of an electron. Charge is quantized. Q is equal to plus or minus Ne, where N is an integer, E is charge of an electron. Quantization of Millikan experiment established the fact that quantization of the charge exists as integral multiple of the charge of an electron. Basic charge is the charge of an electron. Here N is an integer, N takes values like 1, 2, 3, ... like this. This is about Millikan's oil drop experiment, photoelectric photosensitivity, that's it. And then electromagnetic waves main applications, so I already told you. So one small problem, if lambda of electromagnet is double, what happens to energy of photon? This we already discussed it. Energy of photon is h nu or h c by lambda. Right, I'll repeat the question. If wavelength of electromagnetic radiation is doubled, what happens to the energy of photon? Energy of photon is given by this expression, h and c being constant, so inversely proportional to lambda. So here what happens to energy? You can put it this way, E1 by E2 is equal to lambda 1 by lambda 2, isn't it? So is lambda 1 value, if you take it lambda, right, lambda 1 is equal to what happens? Energy if lambda of electromagnet is doubled. Your lambda 2 is 2 lambda. So lambda gets cancelled. So E2 cross multiply is equal to E1 divided by 2. Right? So when wavelength increases, the energy decreases because it is inversely proportional as per that expression. Is it clear? So this is simple numerical problem. What is the working principle of electromagnetic waves? Electromagnetic waves. So accelerated charged particles will generate or emit electromagnetic waves. Right? For example, so accelerated charge could abruptly it is stopped. So by means of some hard metal, then so X-rays are generated. This is the principle of X-rays. Accelerated, highly accelerated charged particle stopped by means of a heavy metal. Then so that energy lost by this fast moving charged particle will be converted into electromagnetic waves, X-rays in fact. So accelerated charged particles will emit electromagnetic radiation or electromagnetic waves. That is the principle of. So applications of microwaves we already discussed, and then microwaves are used in radar. This is due to small wavelength in microwaves. And then so radars, radio detection and ranging. So navigation of all these things, microwaves are so widely being used, isn't it? And the last one. So just I'll discuss one by one. So maybe if you want, it's the simplest possible one. So what is the N-type semiconductor? What are the majority and minority charge carriers? So here N-type semiconductor means here semiconductor figure. So semiconductors, physics, N-type semiconductors. A pure semiconductor is called an intrinsic semiconductor. On doping with suitable impurities, then it will become an extrinsic semiconductor. So an extrinsic semiconductor, so we can classify it into two types, P-type and then type. P-type, N-type. Right? Extrinsic semiconductors. A pure semiconductor is called an intrinsic semiconductor. On doping means adding the foreign material. Foreign material means either trivalent impurities or pentavalent impurities, third group elements or fifth group elements, so that conductivity increase abnormally. The process of adding suitable impurity is called doping. So on doping with trivalent impurity, trivalent, third group, trivalent impurity, then it will become p-type semiconductor, p-type extrinsic semiconductor. So pure semiconductor, if you take a pure semiconductor, so dope it with trivalent, third group, trivalent impurity, then it will become a p-type semiconductor, p-type semiconductor. When you dope it with pentavalent, fifth group elements, pentavalent. So here gallium, so aluminum, indium here. So fifth group elements, any fifth group, then it will become n-type semiconductor. So here in p types of holes are majority, holes are majority charge carriers. Holes are majority charge carriers, of course. So electrons are minority charge carriers. Right? A pure semiconductor on doping in n-type semiconductor. So n-type semiconductor, what happens? Electrons, reverse. Here electrons are majority charge carriers. Electrons or majority charge carriers. Majority charge. And of course, holes positively charged. Holes are minority charge carriers. Here in p-type semiconductor, holes are majority charge carriers, and of course electrons are minority charge carriers. What is intrinsic semiconductor means? A pure semiconductor. Pure semiconductor means either germanium or silicon in pure form, purest possible form, are called intrinsic semiconductor. Then what are extrinsic semiconductor? A pure semiconductor on doping with suitable impurity to enhance, to increase its conductivity, called extrinsic or called extrinsic semiconductor. A pure semiconductor on doping with suitable impurity will become an extrinsic semiconductor. Extrinsic semiconductor classified into two types: p-type semiconductor, n-type semiconductor. P-type means you are doping with trivalent impurity. There, holes are majority carriers, and of course electrons are minority charge carriers. Whereas in n-type semiconductor, pure semiconductor on doping with pentavalent impurity. So pentavalent into fifth group elements, it will become an n-type extrinsic semiconductor. In n-type semiconductors, electrons are majority charge carriers, and of course holes are minority charge carriers. What is p-n junction diode and depletion layer? So p-n junction diode means two extrinsic p and n separately you take and join, it doesn't work as p-n junction diode. On a single crystal, either germanium or silicon, the same single crystal, pure crystal, half of the region doped with trivalent impurities, the remaining half is doped with pentavalent impurities. We will get two distinct regions, p and n regions, with a clear separation. This is called walled. So the semiconductor device with two regions, p and n regions, two distinct regions with a separation in between, called p-n junction diode. P-n junction diode, right? This is like depletion junction, is called junction. At a junction, there exists a small region around the junction. As soon as p-n junction diode is formed, the majority charge carriers, that is holes in p region, will diffuse into n region. Similarly, electrons from n region to p region. During the process, they recombine. That junction, we come across a small region, right? Small region around the junction in which the majority charge carrier, mobile charge carrier, is missing. They get neutralized. So that region around the junction in which mobile charge carriers got neutralized or missing is called depletion layer. So this is also called space charge region. Depletion layer or space charge region. Small region around a junction in which mobile charge carriers are missing or got neutralized. This region is called depletion layer or space charge region. Right? So forward bias junction diode. So if you connect a battery, it's important for practicals also. PN junction, P region is connected to positive polarity, and of course N region is connected to negative polarity. Positive, here negative. It is called forward bias. The PN junction diode is connected such that P region is called positive polarity and N region is connected to negative polarity. Then it is called forward biased, right? What is forward biasing? If P region is connected to positive polarity of the battery and N region is connected to negative polarity of the battery, then it is called forward biased. So please understand. So forward biasing. Reverse biasing means here if P region reverse polarities, P is connected to negative polarity, and of course N is connected to positive polarity. Reverse the polarities, then it is called reverse bias, right? So P region is connected to negative terminal or negative polarity, and N region is connected to the positive polarity. Then it is called, the junction is said to be reverse biased. Reverse bias. When it is forward bias, the depletion layer width decreases. When it is forward bias, all the majority carriers will cross over the region, constitute the current. So here depletion layer width decreases in forward biased condition. It conducts. The structure conducts in on state or conducting state. It offers minimum resistance, negligible resistance. So it is conducting state or on state in forward biased. In reverse biased condition, what happens? So depletion layer width increases. The resistance offered also abnormally increases. It is like open circuit off state, does not conduct under reverse biased condition. When junction diode is reverse bias, it does not conduct. When it is forward biased, then only it conducts. This is about forward biasing and reverse biasing, polarities, etc. Right? So what is the maximum rectification here? So half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier. So important questions for 4 marks as well. So half wave, full wave rectifier. Efficiency of a rectifier, so 0.406 RL if it is half wave rectifier. Half wave rectifier. For half wave rectifier, the efficiency 0.46 by RL plus. Right? The expression is very, very simple. And then the percentage of rectification is 40.6%. The signal, input signal gets rectified. Rectification means the process of converting AC signal into DC signal. AC into DC, called rectification, the process. So that circuit, the device that is employed to fulfill this is called, that is a rectification, called the rectifier. The circuit or device that enables to convert AC into DC is called rectifier. So junction diode is used as half wave rectifier and full wave rectifier. Half wave rectifier, only half of the input signal is rectified, converted into AC. So it is, the efficiency is only 40.6. It is a full wave rectifier. 2 diodes simultaneously, 2 diodes are employed so that its efficiency gets doubled, increases. So 81 is so 81.2 RL by RL plus RF. So this expression you can write this efficiency. Of course, this is 81%. Its efficiency is 81.2%. Right? So now what is a Zener diode? That's anyway, so that's a related topic. So circuit symbol of transistor is very, very important. So this, just make a note of it. Draw circuit symbols of PNP and NPN circuits. First, PNP transistor. PNP transistor. Easily you can get 2 marks, just circuit symbol. So here, this here, the circuit symbol for transistor. So it will have 3 regions: emitter, base and collector. Just first you draw like this. Then the base, emitter, and then collector. This is for PNP transistor. If it is a PNP, the arrow must be placed on only on emitter side. Be careful here. Arrow must be kept placed only on emitter side. That to P to N. So PNP, you read like PNP, P to N on emitter side. Arrow must be kept like this. Right? So here from arrow must be pointed from P to N on emitter side only. This is represents PNP trans, emitter, base and collector. C for collector. This collector, then base, then here emitter. You read like this PNP, P to N on emitter side. This is PNP transistor. If it is NPN transistor, so be careful, observe. So observe the change here. If it is an NPN transistor, say this is an emitter, collector, C for collector, and then this is the base. If it is NPN transistor, if it is NPN transistor, so read like this, NPN, arrow must be only on emitter. Now it is pointing upwards. Earlier it was downwards from emitter to base. Now it is upwards from base to emitter, right? So this is NPN transistor. Actually, the transistor is a device consisting 3 terminals, 2 junctions, emitter junction, and then this is collector junction. We have emitter, then base, then collector. These regions are specific, they cannot be interchanged. Unlike junction diode, the emitter and base can be interchanged. Nothing happens. But here, a transistor, they have different sizes, the different purposes, doping concentration is also different. They cannot be interchanged at any cost, right? So emitter must behave like only as emitter, it is heavily doped, and then here moderately doped base, thin, also very thin compared to the first 2 regions. This base is very, very thin compared to the emitter and collector. Base region is very thin and lightly doped. Yeah. So the other one, collector, is big in size and moderately doped. So moderate means in between, right? The emitter should be heavily doped. They cannot be interchanged at any. These are the circuit symbols. Transistor, semiconductor device with 3 terminals and 2 junctions, right? And 3 distinct regions, either P and P in between N, or N and N in between P, sandwich like this. So we don't take separate semiconductors, join them. This on single crystal, they are so formed like that. Okay, so that 3 distinct regions with 2 junctions are formed. Transistors, many applications are amplifier, oscillators, many applications are there. Right? This is about amplifier. Amplifier means the device that is employed to increase the strength of weak signal, that is called amplifier. So Zener diode, of course, deleted, but for competitive exams, so it is a junction diode. So this used symbol is like this. So this is Zener diode. Always works under reverse biased condition. The reverse biased condition, Zener diode is employed or used as voltage stabilizer or voltage regulator, right? So to minimize voltage fluctuation, voltage stabilizer, Zener diode works under the reverse biased condition as voltage stabilizer. If it is forward biased, it's just like ordinary junction diode, nothing, no difference at all. So Zener diode is nothing but this so heavily or properly doped junction diode with sharp breakdown region, that is called Zener diode, right? So this is about your entire syllabus. I covered almost all the important questions, very short answer questions, and then hope you understood and then derive maximum benefit out of it. Then communication system, in the beginning itself we covered, right? So main important questions in the communication system, what is modulation and what is the importance of modulation. So then different parts of ionosphere, and then so what are the basic blocks of communication system? We already discussed itself, right? The transmitter, transmission channel, receiver, right? All these we already discussed. And basic methods of modulation. 3 different methods are there: amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, and phase modulation. 3 different methods, right? So skywave propagation. Regarding skywave propagation, that is the radio waves received on reflection or after reflection from ionospheric layer, ionosphere, are called this sky waves, right? What type of communication employed in mobile phones? This recent, in the beginning itself, we discussed. So this is space wave communication through line of sight employed. This technique is used in mobile phones, isn't it? So modulation, it's a necessity. We already discussed the process of combining low frequency signal with high frequency carrier wave is called modulation. It is required why? Because to transmit signal over long distances, one important term, to avoid noises, distortion or disturbances, and then so to reduce the size of antenna. WWW, World Wide Web, we already discussed. It is an encyclopedia, a huge encyclopedia of knowledge or information. So it's accessible to all the persons across the globe, around the clock. That is WW this thing. So this is about all the very short answer questions. So we discuss most of the important questions as far as IP examination is concerned. So I hope you will derive some benefit out of this class. So I'm wishing you all the best. So thank you.